And so what I try to do is like reach out to brothers like y'all and everything, because I've always felt like we are our best network, but it's hard to get that explained to other people. And it's like I told my wife, I said, man, you wanna try to get me more? Go hang out with the other girlfriends and wives. Like, cause they've been through it too. Like they get it too, right? Um, but yeah, man, I I feel a lot of times like I don't deserve my freedom. I feel a lot of times I don't deserve my wife or my daughter, right? And I've got two guys that I went through San Quentin. So back in '99, when I went through San Quentin, there was a handful of guys that like we went through San Quentin and went to the same prison. So we all got sent to like we did our whole time together, right? Two of those guys, both of them hung themselves after paroling, after doing the 9, 10 years
Oh,
stint,
wow.
right? And both of them, hand to God, both of them, when they got out, I interacted with them and they both expressed like, I'm struggling, I'm going through stuff, I'm dealing with this and that. And I was like, both of them at the time, I had a house, I had a 3 bedroom house and it was just me. And I'm like, come live with me for free. I'll get you a job. Don't worry. Like I know what you're talking about. I'm in a good place. Let me help you.
Mm.
Both of them turned it down. Literally, both of them, same exact story. Not a month or two later, I'm getting a call. Hey, Vince hung himself. Dave hung himself. And I'm like, why didn't I do more? Right.
Right.
And I know, like, what else could I have done? Right. But I'm like, outside of like kidnapping them. But I'm like, that hits me because I'm like, what the hell were they going through that I hadn't gone through too? Like, why couldn't I get that through to them? That, like, I'm here for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get all emotional about it, but it's like,
No, but
That's
that
it's rough to do all that time, and then like, and to me that's gangster, man. Hanging yourself, like we ain't talking no easy way out. Like that's
yeah, yeah. I think when we talk about the mental health, why we talk about it so much is because I believe until COVID hit, and I hate to say this, but in the fact is true, it's COVID. Thank God for COVID, and I'm gonna say this because we can now have dialogue about
yes,
mental health.
agreed.
Before, when we grew up, that it was almost ironic to say someone was crazy and meant that in a good way. Yo, such and such is crazy. That means don't mess with him. He puts in work. He do what he got to do. Now, crazy looks a little different,
Yeah,
right? Mental health looks a lot different. I own 5 companies and 14 residential homes for mental health out here in
nice.
Florida. And I got residents with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, psychosis, depression, borderline personality. I mean, I got them all right, and they thriving. Uh, but no one ever want to deal and talk about the formerly incarcerated or the incarcerated mental health. We shy behind it. We don't want to address it. We sweep it under the rug. And mental health is serious. It's a real freaking thing. You can't tell me that as human beings that we're born to live in this free world, with free thinking, go through a traumatic event of being taken from the street to be put in a cage, to learn to adapt with other men for a certain amount of time, being told when to do things, how to be on survival mode 24/7, and to come home and now to adapt to people more soft spoken or more angry. And I tell people all the time, yo, it costs you nothing to be nice and kind. You never freaking know what someone is going through up here, okay? That can just snap.
Yep.
Right? We so caught up with this mentality, with this phase that we have to be macho, we got to be tough, we got to be this, we got to be that, we got to be reactive instead of respond to the situation. And I think that the world needs a place where you can call a safe zone. I
Yeah.
think we need more programs for brothers and sisters coming home from prison where they can feel safe to go and talk about this stuff. Because even with me and my wife, right? Like we go through our stuff, and um, like she'll tell me, when you go and you travel, share your location with me. So I yes, no. And she says that, and the first thing my mind thinks, I'm like, yo, I've been in prison for 22 and a half years. I feel when you tell me that, like, you want to check on me, like you my parole officer, like I got to be on an ankle monitor, and she don't understand that. And it's not that because I don't want to share my location. It's not because I'm doing anything wrong that I shouldn't be doing. It's just the way that she presents it triggers me. And then we get into an argument and fight. And I go, baby, if you want to know where I'm at, you have to ask me. Like, I can do that. But when you say share your location, it triggers a response in me that I get defensive, because now I'm living in a free world. I'm a businessman. I'm working. I'm doing everything I can. And you just spark trauma that you don't even realize. And I understand it's coming from a good space.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have a therapist or someone to identify, to talk about that, if we don't have someone to talk to us, that we can have an avenue to talk about the stresses, the depression, the anxiety, the PTSD of dealing with life on life's turn. Listen, like Eric was just saying, we had interviewed a brother who was just, was doing amazing, doing great. Just in an interview, chopped a guy up, or sitting down in an interview, calm and collective. Like, what happened?
Let's before you continue, let's say the alleged, because we don't have the full facts of anything on this brother. So you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
He's just been alleged to have done this.
Absolutely. Thank you for the correction, Eric. Right? But things happen, and we're not dealing with the mental state of being. Some of us get it. Some of us come out and become successful. Success to me look like it's not how much money you have, how many businesses you have, or how big your house is. Success means that, we're not going back to jail no matter what. I'm going to do my best every day from the minute I wake up to go to bed back under my own roof and be as nice as I can, to not be that person I used to be before, to not be reactive, to be more responsive, right? But a lot of people don't have that avenue. A lot of people are still in that defense mode, that when someone asks them something, they get on to, what you said? What? And they ready to go because they think they in the yard. They think they're in the catwalk, right? And it's like, yo, brother, I was just asking you, how are you doing? What you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with a lot of mental health, right? And I think it's just we need a world and a place where everyone can find a safe haven, a safe place to talk and to deal with it, because we harbor it and we become reactive, right? Go ahead, Eric. I know you got something to say.
Yeah, I do, because excuse me.
Yeah, excuse you.
Yeah, I need some water.
There's water.
So this situation is serious, because when I look at those of us that was incarcerated, I've never taken any medication, any of that, but I look at those that have, and looking at that, I think it may be safe to say that a person that was on psych meds and was taking medications during incarcerated, coming home and they probably don't anymore, or even if they do, or even if they still do, they're more susceptible to need and therapy. I think that, you know what I'm saying? Because this actually alters these side effects. You know what I'm saying? That this hurts them even more, because they going through the things that we going through, and then compounded with medication. So, can anybody speak on that? How you feel about that, Anthony?
So I can tell you this. So, right, you have two types of mental health. You have those that are born with it, and then you have those that acquire it, right? So a lot of people think that people with schizophrenia is born with it. Most likely they not. People don't develop schizophrenia until they late teens, 19, 20, 21, right out of high school or college. A lot of them get it. Do they need medication? I believe so. Medication does help them. Just imagine, right? I'm gonna paint a picture. Remember the first night you go to jail, you go to prison, not jail, but in prison. You got all the banging, the yelling, the screaming, the crosstalk, the gallery yelling, everything. You're hearing all those voices. Yo, what up? Hey, yo, what's good? Yo, hey, just imagine you having that in your head in a quiet space constantly. You listening to 10, 30 voices telling you ain't nothing, you're a piece of shit, you're not worthy, right? And you're walking around and you don't know how to differentiate the difference between a reality voice speaking to you or the voices in your head. It's a horrible thing. I love people with schizophrenia because I've seen what the medication does with them, right? And I got guys with and females with schizophrenia that know me for years and have not been hospitalized yet. They're on the right medication, and the
Right.
voices get this much better. What I learned is that when you're dealing with a person that's on medication, and now does medication apply to everybody? No. I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a psychiatrist, and we'll never know what's inside somebody's head. But what I do know for certain diagnoses, yes, the medication does make things a lot better. So, for me, when I was in prison, I got diagnosed with depression. I had lost demo. I was going through a whole lot of stuff, and they put me on this medication, on the Prozac, and they put me on sleep meds for Remron, and I was on that for like maybe 2 weeks, and then I was just like, I didn't feel myself, right? It depressed my emotional feelings of crying, speaking, and I didn't want to feel that. So I got into working out. I got into education. I found an avenue that works for me. And I think for everybody, it worked for me. And that's why I go to the gym. This is why I do what I do. I found that to be for me. Medication can be good in some certain senses, right? And it depends on how it's used to have a person function more properly, right? For a person that got ADHD, does medication work? Yes, they can work, but can they get too overstimulated? Yes. So it's a double-edged sword with that, right? So it's a catch-22 question that you asked, Eric.
Yep.
I believe you're properly diagnosed with a diagnosis, and medication is helping you make more conscious, better decisions, then
Absolutely.
yes, it can work. Uh,
Absolutely. That's pardon me for cutting you off. That's why I like what you do in terms of with the people that you house with those mental health issues. Make sure that they being diagnosed right. And you go far and beyond for that. And that's the great thing, and that's the success and why I think they don't have an episode. They're not going back to the hospital because you make sure they diagnose her. Tito, could you speak on that as well?
yeah, it's so. Go ahead, Tito.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, what I saw was more wrapped around individuals that were either put on incorrectly because they were doing these quick diagnoses or just giving everyone the same thing. Like we had a running joke in county, it was Thorazine. Like everyone got put on Thorazine, right?
Uh-huh.
And so it was a Thorazine shuffle. Like you see all these guys like walking around like zombies because they were OD'd
Yeah,
on Thorazine, and then you had people that literally fall into this addiction